When I get kids that come in and I ask them, hey, have you taken lessons before, when they're new to me, and they say yes, I immediately ask them a question, what have you been working on? Most of the time they kind of look at me for a second and they try to come up with what they're supposed to say, and I stop them there and I say, let me guess. You're working on getting out front and throwing strikes. When you're a coach that's particularly working on only getting out front and throwing strikes, you're working on an end result, not what leads to that result. So you can't teach a guy just to throw strikes by getting out front. Because if your body does not work efficiently through the beginning, you're not going to be able to get out front to be able to throw that strike. You need to get through the right sequence and be able to repeat that sequence in your body to get to the same release point, which will be out front once I get there, to get myself into my throw. So what we're teaching guys a lot of times when we tell them to get out front is we're telling them to negate the backside and just get out in the front side. And this is typically what I see with most kids that come in for lessons, even guys that are higher athletes and even guys that have achieved a little bit of success at a higher level, is they come in and they're really trying to get over their front side as opposed to being able to get through their body rotation. So these are the guys also you're going to see that typically plateau, meaning they get to a point where they don't throw much harder. And they typically end up being the guys that end up having to take quite a bit of time off from pitching because they're expending a lot of energy. And their velocity tends to drop a little bit as the game goes on. So what we're trying to do is get guys away from just thinking about getting out front. So here I'm getting over my front side, I'm getting out front, but my back side is not getting me through the turn. My main focus is I got to get to this imaginary point somewhere out here, so I'm getting myself from A out to that point. At this point, again, you can see how my hips haven't rotated. For me to get to that position of getting out front, a couple different factors come into play. One is going to be me being able to get into the ground correctly. So when I can stabilize into the ground around my front side, I can now stop momentum of the lower half, which is going to force the momentum of the upper half to go forward. So instead of me trying to get out front, I'm going to use my leverage against the ground to create and keep momentum of my upper half. In between that phase, I need to be able to get into also a rotation of my hip. This is also what allows me to get out front. So once I brace up against the ground, it allows me to stop lower half momentum, and it allows me to get into my hip turn, which when I rotate around that point that's stopped is going to force my body over my front side. Then a lot of times you also talk about being out front as finishing that pitch. It's the same idea there. So to get to that finish that pitch, or that back leg that swings through after you throw, which is again a byproduct of the way you throw, happens because of the way I stabilize. So if I now rotate, I'm unloading my lower half to unload my upper half. So my lower half unloads to unload my upper half. After I let go of the ball, because I have a stable point that I rotate around with momentum, after I let go of the ball, my upper half now unloads to unload my lower half around because I'm still rotating around the point of my hip. So when you're talking to your guys about getting out front, you really need to focus on what's leading those guys to be able to get out front, instead of them focusing their energy on just being out front.